Hello, welcome to the Queue. This is a remake of the last Combat Theater where we did Global 40 game with Young Grasshopper's Tournament Edition rules. As a quick refresher, I won't go into the details as I did on the beginning of the last game, but UK Pacific now is a combination of UK Pacific and ANZAC. They have a total of 27 IPCs to share. One thing to notice, this factory is a minor until they're at war with Japan. They cannot go to war they cannot declare war on Japan until round 3. The Dutch islands are not available to the Allies for points until the Japanese capture them. Then they can take them back and get the points. They can, however, land on those islands, just nothing happens. No possession, no IPCs are collected. So with that in mind, that's really the major rules. I went over it a lot in detail at the beginning of the last game. So there's your turn order, which the difference is UK Pacific goes second, and then we're going to push Russia all the way down and move US all the way to the end there. Well, I guess France is always at the end, but they don't have a lot going on anyway. So I went ahead and I'll keep the same format, and we'll do a summary at each round for UK Pacific so you can see that nation in action. I've already gone ahead and did Germany's turn. They captured France. That's their buy for this turn, $30 or 30 IPCs, however you want to say that. And looking at the board, I took some chances here. I sent one sub down here against that cruiser. Fortunately, on the first roll, got a 2, which is basically a first strike scenario because there's no destroyer. So that cruiser's gone. Here's where I don't like the outcome. It went 3 rounds and basically 1 sub versus 1 destroyer. So the first 1 to 2 wins. Well, on round 3, both sides rolled a 2. So that transport survives, and I hate that. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And then it's basically the standard attacks in 110 and 111. Germany, there was no scramble, but at the same time Germany still lost I think 2 subs and 2 planes. So it wasn't too exciting. I did go after all 3 French territories, so I used the fighter and the tactical that were over on the Eastern Front. One went into Paris and then one went into southern France. So there's your outcome there. Casualty stack way over there. Kind of punishing, and not as punishing as the casualties for France and Britain. So there is Germany's turn. They got their 30 original dollars. They have 10 in national objectives. They picked up $12 in territories, and we'll slide that French money down there. So that's 19. So that's 42 plus 19 is what they'll have for, well, no, that's not correct. They have 42 plus 10 plus 19. That'll be their next round buy, and then I'll go ahead and put that in the 2 German factories that they only have available. I'll put that out here when I start the Russian turn, or who's after Japan is after UK Pacific. So put the camera on the tripod here, and for the let me slide that over here because we are going to have 1 combat. So we're not at war with Japan. We can't do that till round 3, but we can grab a guy and an artillery and come over here to Somaliland because we are at war with Germany and Italy. And we're going to bring over a cruiser from bombardment. And that will be the only attacks. I am not ready with the dice, so let me grab those. So for their attack, they've got an infantry, artillery, and a cruiser bombardment. No hits. And Italy has 1 infantry, and that's a hit. So right off the bat, UK Pacific is in trouble. So now it's just a 2 versus a 2. So first 2 will be UK Pacific. This, oh my gosh, this is terrible. That invasion failed miserably. And man, that just that's not how I wanted to start off the game. Okay, so what we're going to do here on our non-com, we're going to send one guy into Eastern Persia, and we're going to bring this battleship back to there. The fighter's coming back here, and I originally had planned to send that fighter, this fighter here, over to British Somaliland, because that was going to be destroyed and Britain was going to come down and destroy that. But now I'm going to have to wait a turn, I guess. Alright, so coming over this way, we've got no change in Singapore. We are going to take let's take one guy and pick up this artillery. And we're going to come over here 3 to Java. And like I said, this doesn't take control of that territory, so they don't get an increase. But they can land there, because we're going to also send this fighter here from Queensland. And the other 2 fighters that are over here in New Zealand are coming over to Queensland. We're going to bring our ships up, march this infantry up, and there we go. So that was a quick turn. They're not at war with Japan. They failed miserably over here in Italy, or Somaliland against Italy. So let's place out the buy here. And I forgot to show you the rest of the teams, or the rest of the country's buy, but I've got 3 units I can place here. So I've got 2 infantry and an artillery. And that's going there. I bought a fighter and a transport, so they are going over here. Alright, well, so that was not successful, I don't think, for UK Pacific's first turn. I'm trying to take this off with one hand and it's not working. I'll have to edit that out. Come on. Alright. So here is the remaining buys for Japan. Pretty standard buy. Britain. You got to buy infantry and you got to stack Londons because you never know. Italy's going with a transport and infantry this turn. China, no surprise. Russia saved $2, bought a bomber and some other units. US getting right into some big ships right away. So I will be back on turn 2, Anzac, and we'll see what happens with the rest of the battle. Now, one thing I am going to say, I did have some people say, hey, why didn't you send all those Russians into to Manchuria? Well, I think what I'll do to show you why that's probably a bad move, but then again it might affect the game, so I'll have to think about it, because if you stack all 18 infantry and the 2 anti-A guns, Japan pretty much just wipes that out. And even if you wait till turn 2, there's probably still enough in the region to do that. So that's why in that last game I started marching them to come around the backside. But they were too late getting there. Japan already had sprinted across China, and that was it for that. So we're going to have to try something different this time, I think. I think I will. Now, the more I think about it, I think Russia will stack everything there, and then I'll show you the wipeout. They will get the 6th Infantry, in Mongolia, and we'll see how that affects the game. So we'll do that. The other thing I'm not going to do this turn is Toronto. We're going to employ a different strategy because last game that really put the British behind the 8 ball because they lost everything. And I didn't bring the German fighter down because I knew that I wasn't doing Toronto. Maybe I should have, just, because if you were playing a game against someone else, you don't know. Either way, that's one of the pitfalls of playing yourself. You basically know the strategy of both sides. So, like I said, we'll come back at turn 2 on UK Pacific's turn, and we'll see what transpired on the rest of the world. Here we are at turn 2 of Anzac. Germany's already taken its second turn, and we'll look at some of the battles from turn 1. Britain came down with the destroyer and sank the German sub, and the Germans returned the favor with they brought down a sub and then this bomber and sank the British transport and destroyer, so leaving those guys holding out on Gibraltar there. Germany not attacking Russia. Nothing else to do with their planes, so they went on a bombing raid, and it looks like there is 6 damage on the factory and 4 on the airbase. No losses to anti-aircraft, which is my favorite. As we go across the map, Italy took out the one guy in Tunisia, took out the one guy that Britain left in Alexandria, and honestly, I think I should have pulled them all back. I did leave a destroyer in case Italy would come with its 2 transports to knock off that bombard. But an Italian fighter came down one-on-one, took it out. Didn't get shot down, so it landed there in Tobruk. Britain did the normal destruction of the Italian transport and destroyer there. The French fleet, I didn't mark it, but the French fleet went down there. On Italy's turn, they took Yugoslavia, which had 2 guys left from the German ping pong into Romania. And then with their transports, they went after Greece with the bombards. And I think they lost 2. I could be wrong. Yeah, looking at that, there would be 2. Italy lost 2 guys there going there. Russia just repositioned its forces, moved that cruiser out into 114 as a block for the 2 German transports, which did not come down. Last game I brought them down here, but then again Gibraltar was empty. So, no, you know what? Actually, I think I went to Morocco, and Italy went into an empty Gibraltar there. So you saw Anzac, I keep saying that, UK Pacific's turn and their failure in Africa. The Japanese did the normal 4 attacks, and the Chinese did the counterattack, leaving them with just 1 to defend Yunnan there. Excuse me. So Japan is set up to proceed into China. I did move everything into Amur. I'll lay those battles out so you can see what happened. And I put the 6 Mongolians because Japan's going to hit those, and then we'll see what the consequences are in this game for doing such a move. And over here, U.S. sent some more guys and planes to Hawaiian Islands, but keeping their navy out of reach, the big navy anyway. Philippine Navy's abandoning it. They're gonna join up there this turn, and I don't think that plane in Guam can make it, but he'll make it over to Wake. So And then down here, well, you saw their moves, UK Pacific moves. So that's the way turn 1 went. Not a lot of action with Russia and US not in the war yet, but that is the way it goes. Let's go look at the German purchase. You'll notice an air base on there. I hated to have to do that, but I can't place a transport and a destroyer here without all these British planes sinking them. So I'm putting a air base there with, I flew 3 of my fighters down there, and they will shore up that defense. And there's the rest of your purchases there, the destroyer and transport for the med, along with 1 infantry, because I left 1 of my tanks there, so they'll have something to move. Basically, we're just going to follow wherever Italy goes, I think, and that is undetermined at this point. The rest of the buys, there is your Anzac, Anzac again, UK Pacific buy. Japanese, we got 3 tanks for the factory, another transport and infantry and artillery. There's your Italy purchase. China, no surprise there. It'll be 5 guys because they had the national objective there for 1 turn. Russia buy, US buy. US saved 2. Russia spent its 2 from last turn. And if you look at the money, no changes there. China had the national objectives here of 6. Those are going to be gone, so I'll just take those off. I don't think they'll be getting them back. Italy had 5 for nothing in the med. And then Britain had 2 objectives, and they're both worth 3. And that is all original possessions in Africa and all original possessions outside of Africa. So it's 3 each. And then Japan and Germany, the normal national objectives. So let me put this on the tripod here. That worked much better that time. And it's still round 2, so they cannot declare war on Japan. So there's not really any action going on. I will say here, this is the move I made last turn, and I want that for Britain because they need to put a factory there. So we're going to use one of these 2 transports that I have here off Africa to get the job done. So basically it's just non-com, and while I'm over here, these 2 ships will come back to 79, and we're going to bring up 1 infantry. We're just going to bring up 2 infantry. Let me move on to the other side here, because I'm not really, these guys are going to try and get over to Cairo for defense. And then all these, because that in the frame, yeah. All these infantry are going to step up into Burma. And we'll just see with that artillery. And, excuse me, see if I'm going to fly one of these planes over to Cairo for defense. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it lands in Ethiopia, where there is a British, 2 British units. So, whoop, I don't know why I have 2 British roundels there. Oh well, take that off. Alright, so other moves, I think we'll move 2 guys out of Singapore into Shan State. On Java here, we've got a fighter that's going to fly into Calcutta. We're going to take our infantry and artillery and put it up here in Calcutta as well. I'd stop in Burma, but I think if Japan decides to declare war, that bomber sinks that, transport, and we don't need to lose that for nothing. And then over here, we are going to just bring up this transport, bring up this fighter, and bring up 1 anti-aircraft gun. And that's pretty much it for UK Pacific. I'll put out here. Oh, I don't have enough. So I only have 2 miners, and I had 7. I bought 7 units, so I'll have to put this infantry back and give them $3 back. So I'll put that on their stack. And then here in Calcutta, I can only put 3, so I got an infantry, artillery, and a tank. Alright, so that'll give $3 back to UK Pacific. And we shall see what happens here on the second turn. And like I said, I'll lay out all those casualties in that Russian battle up there in Amur, just so you can see, you know, what it cost Japan to get that job done. And we will be back on Anzac turn 3.